I am which was and always has been. I am which was and always has been.
Hello, and welcome to another interview as part of a series to elevate Black voices by providing a platform for Black traditional artists to talk about their work and how it connects to Black culture and the Black Lives Matter movement. Today I'm speaking with LaRhonda Steele, a gospel singer recognized as one of the region's best rhythm and blues vocalists. LaRhonda grew up in a rural town of Spencer, Oklahoma, where her grandfather was an evangelist and her mother sang in a gospel quartet. The family sang as part of their daily routine, harmonizing as they did chores. Since performing solos in churches and around the region and directing her first choir at age 16, LaRhonda has produced 5 CDs. She won 3 Muddy Awards for Best Female Vocalist and has been inducted into the Oregon Music Hall of Fame and the Cascade Blues Hall of Fame. Please join me in welcoming LaRhonda Steele. Hi, LaRhonda.
Hi, Emily. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. Thanks for joining us today. As I was saying, this series is to help give us a sense of how traditional arts connect people to their backgrounds, to their heritage. Can you tell us a little bit more about how your art that you produce connects and expresses you to your Black heritage?
Well, as you read before, I started singing with my family at home, and oh, the many chores that my sister and I had to do on Saturday. So I remember Saturday mornings, we just open all the windows and doors and we choose which rooms we were going to clean. Either we cleaned our room and the bathroom or the kitchen and the living room. So music has always been a part of my life, as well as singing in church. So as it relates to my arts, it's just who I am. It's the blues and the gospel music that I do is from my African American culture, and it's just that expression. That's what I grew up mostly in performing. I like all types of music, lots of classic rock, lots of. I like a little bit of country. I like a little bit of. I love opera. I love the way that opera singers use their voices. But as an expression, it's simply who I am, the culture that I grew up in. So.
Thanks for explaining that.
I hope that answers it.
Yeah. And maybe as a follow-up there, what I'm learning is that for people of color, participating in traditional arts and cultural art forms can also end up being a form of activism, whether you intend for it to or not. And so if you're up there on stage really performing loud and proud, I am here and I'm celebrating my heritage, that's kind of a privilege that many white people might take for granted, that for you might be a little bit more of a risk. How does that play out for you?
Well, I just simply, wow, that's a great question, Emily, because we're going to get into it now. Okay. Every time I take the stage, for me, it is, I'm carrying with me my grandmother, my mother, my brothers and my sisters who don't necessarily have this platform in order to express what is culturally ours. And so I don't just think of it as me having fun, which it is a lot. A lot of it is very much so fun, and connection that you have with people and the connection you have with your bandmates. But always in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I am an African American woman daring to stand on a stage in front of people and sing and say, I'm here. And so, I mean, that's like a calling on my life, a calling on, just a calling on my life. And I feel like I have to do it, because if I don't do it, the world is going to miss out on, they're going to miss out on this wonderful experience of me, of what God has given me, of what God has put in my heart to do. And that's really how I see it. And sometimes I'm scared, and sometimes I have a lot of fear, a lot of, especially when you're doing music that's culturally, like say if I do an R&B tune or a spiritual in a predominantly white crowd, then I'm taking a risk. I'm taking a risk in that culturally, will it be understood? Will I lose fans if I continue to do that type of music instead of doing music that's a little bit more mainstream that everybody likes, So it's kind of a balance. And I would say earlier in my career, I spent a lot of time just kind of thinking, well, what do people like? What do people want to hear? What kind of audience is it? And I tell you now, boy, I have learned that it's about doing the music that touches my heart, that calls me. And I've always done that type of music, but I also have had the other dynamic of, I want more fans, I want people to like me, but I've learned that showing up, being authentic, and loving the music that you're singing, getting the message across is so much more important than having a billion fans, which I would love to have. But as I get older, that it means so much more. I remember I was on a gig with Curtis Salgado up in Seattle at the Jazz Alley. And I remember going to the Jazz Alley prior years and thinking, I'd love to be on that stage. And then I dreamt that, and it came true. And as I was waiting in the wings, I just had this overwhelming feeling of my grandmother's presence and my mom's presence and my aunts, and that I had the opportunity, that they were with me, that through me, they were on Jazz Alley's stage, and they were singing their song, and they were able to be there with me. So I feel very strongly about that, about carrying that mantle.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that
Yeah.
moment.
Woo.
Yeah.
I mean, it's real. It's real. And I think about that all the time. And if I get so afraid and I get so wrapped up in myself in my insecurities that I don't sing, then I'm doing them an injustice. I'm putting my, like in the Bible, it says you put your talent under a bushel. I'm crazy enough to not do that. I don't want that to be, because I have albinism, so I'm albino. So I've got all of these things that would say, girl, stay at home and watch TV, get on the internet, don't go out in public because of those differences, but everything within me says, do it, get up, do it. Sing your songs, be there, be a leader. It's in you to do. So the fear has to be squashed each time. I know I'm going on and on. But
I appreciate it. This is the time.
I didn't know I was going to get into that. Come on, Emily.
Hide it under a bushel? No.
No way. Girl, I can't do it. I mean, I would drive my family crazy. And I owe that to my dad. My dad is a very gregarious, full personality. I mean, he really steps up when he's around people. He's very much a people person, and I learned that from him. Yeah, yeah.
Well, it sounds like performing is very personal. It brings in your voice and the voices of your family and your ancestors. And
Yes.
we're so blessed in Oregon that you're here letting that light shine.
Yeah, thank you. I'm blessed to be here. I'm blessed to be here.
Well, another one of my kind of interests is in how that can be a form of activism. And I know that sometimes that's indirect. It's not that you're out there trying to hold a sign, but you kind of become a sign for a moment. You become a symbol. Are there ways in which you are more directly being an activist with your music or your recordings?
Well, yes. I met about a couple years ago, I met a wonderful lady named Karen Haberman Trusty. And she's this wonderful woman who actually was a part of this SNCC organization during the Civil Rights Movement. That's the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. And they were the young people that went and did the sit-ins. They went and sat at the counters that said whites only. They went and they marched on Selma. They were what she calls the shock troops. And so I met her a couple of years ago. She was speaking at a church in Lake Oswego, and I've worked with this center for a very long time. And they suggested that I be the singer for what she was talking about, which is racial justice, you know. And so I met her, and I was like, wow, this lady is I mean, she's militant. And I was like, I'm, you know, prior to that, I'm so peaceful and love, and you know, I'm okay, you know. I'm okay. But she was one of the people who put their lives on the line for African Americans and for those who were not treated equally. And so we over the course of about a year and us working together, we created a CD called Spirit of Freedom, which you can see right here. And you can get that at Music Millennium. Terry Courier absolutely loves this CD. And so he's put it in stock. And what this CD is her time with the SNCC organization. She said the music that they sang while they marched and when they were in meetings is what took the fear away, is what made them feel this power and feel that justice, that injustice must be met and that we must do something about it. And so they marched. We know a lot of what happened to them during the Civil Rights Movement. They were beaten, they were jailed, the hoses and dogs were turned loose on them. And she was one of those people. And it was just really interesting at that point in my life to meet her and to learn her story. So we put this CD together of spoken word and some of the songs that they sang. And a lot of the songs that they sang during the Civil Rights Movement, I already knew because I was singing them in church. You know, it just had Jesus instead of freedom, or, you know, and that too is a way of building community, because a lot of the marchers were African American. So the music tied them together. The music of the church, of the Black church, tied them together. So this CD tells of her accounts, and it also has music in between that they sang. And this CD to me is, well, I want to say very true to my heart. It's one of the most important, no, I'll say it's the most important CD that I've done. Especially at this time, meeting her and learning of her story and how she put her life on the line and how so many others put their lives on the line for social justice. And then being able to sing the songs that are true to my culture, true to my heritage, to coincide with those stories. It brought it all full circle. And it's amazing how Creator, how God does that, brings everything full circle. I have a wonderful career, 25 years or so being a professional, starting in the blues community with Norman Sylvester and working with Gino Vanelli and Curtis Salgado, and some meeting people that I idealized, and then to come full circle to this CD that takes me back to my roots and my heritage. I don't even have the words to express how beautiful it is, how thankful I am, how grateful I am to be here to be the representative of this, one of the representatives of this. So my puppy is in here playing now. I'm in the living room and he's playing.
Oh, that's wonderful, though. And it sounds like if a person were to listen to this CD, they would get not only the songs that were sung during the protest movement, back in the civil rights movement era, but also some of the history. And we're hearing more and more how history is written by the winners, and history is only told from limited perspectives. And it's important that we do the work to find histories that are lesser told so that we can know the whole history, listen to each other's histories, and not just the one that we might have gotten in the 4th grade, however many days or years or decades ago that might have been.
And I learned so much from Karen. There were things that she told me that I didn't know. I received that same 4th grade education, history education from the winners. I grew up in Oklahoma, so they were not telling all of the truth about the movement. So I learned so much, and it's so powerful. And every time now that I stand up on stage, and I've done this in my career over the past, I have to acknowledge my culture. I boldly acknowledge my culture, not caring who likes it or not. You know what I mean? It's not about popularity. It's about being authentic. It's about being authentic. That's so important to me now. I'm excited. Authenticity, yes.
Well, thank you for being an exemplary model of being authentic, of standing up in your own skin and saying who you are, where you come from, and why that's so important for all of us to do. And that leads me to my last question about, is there anything that you would like to communicate to people who will hear this? Messages that you would want to share about what others can do personally with their organization, professionally, or advice to institutions as we move to improve equity in Oregon?
Well, let's see. That's a lot of stuff, Emily. Well, well, there's several things that I know from my own heart, because I've been praying about the state of our world right now with COVID and with the how can I say it, with the injustices being now, so you can't really deny it. Everyone has a camera out. People cannot now deny that they didn't know. So that's one of the things that I think is important to just accept the fact that others have been treated horribly in this world, in this country. And what we can do on an individual basis is to provide understanding and grace and space for other folks that are not like you. I mean, you can do that yourself. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to get out and march. You don't have to you can do all of those things too. Yes, donate to a cause, Black Lives Matter, or Don't Shoot Portland, support the NAACP. But what I can do as an individual is to show up in my life, in my body, as a person of inclusivity. I don't have to like you, like the Nina Simone song says, that you don't have to live next to me, but just give me my equality. It just means be kind to one another. Have space for other cultures. I'm sorry, that's Birdie and the and the mailman. So yeah, there are organizations that you can find online, like Karen Haberman and another wonderful lady. They do workshops about race and how to deal with it. There are social justice book clubs you can join. I mean, if you want to learn more about that, man, there's so much online, so much information, small groups, Zoom meetings. But as an individual, I was speaking with a young lady yesterday, great musician, Stephanie Cook, and we both were talking about how we're starting to get bogged down and forgetting who we are in the whole madness of it all. But we both decided that what we can do is to continue to show up in love, is to continue to provide music as a means of building bridges, to be kind to yourself and to one another. That's just kind of where I come from. Just be kind. I don't have to like you or understand your culture, but that doesn't mean that I need to be aggressive against you and just push you aside as if you don't exist. So just be kind to one another. We're all in this thing together. Be graceful. And then for us who are the underserved, we can be graceful. We can provide some grace. I know there's a lot of anger and hurt. Yes, there is. And there's grace. Be graceful as people learn how to treat one another better. So that's me. That's where I come from.
Thank you so much for those sage words of wisdom, that really wonderful advice that any big political movement also can be practiced on a personal level, just person to person, as we get better and better at being humans and sharing our lives and our planet together.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
LaRhonda, thank you for your time today.
Oh, thank you, Emily. You brought some things out. Got me going. I appreciate you and I appreciate what you're doing. Thank you.
Absolutely. And before we close, I want to remind people who are watching or listening that you can find LaRhonda's CDs at Music Millennium in Portland or on her website, LaRhondaSteele.com. You can see her perform live stream on Alberta Rose Theater's website this Sunday, July 19th at 7 p.m. Or you can physically go to a safe, social distanced performance on July 24th. This will be outside at 503 Restaurant in West Lynn from 6 to 9 p.m. And I'm sure that more information about those shows could be found on your website.
Yes, and on my Facebook page too. I do a lot of Facebooking.
All right, wonderful. Well, thanks so much for connecting with us today, LaRhonda, and helping us.
Thank you, Emily. I hope to see you out there somewhere with a mask on.
Yeah. I look forward to that too.
You were made to walk your journey with your head held high. Don't you ever doubt yourself. Don't you dare ask why. Just remember to always shine your light bright, bright.